Welcome. As I told you last time, as a church, we are in a season that the Lord has put in our hearts that this is our year of soul winning. And that has been something that has really been burning in our hearts. We are so much geared to evangelism and outreach. Maybe I can share a small experience that I had, a personal story, and it's motivated from a verse in the book of 2 Timothy chapter 4 and verse 5. The verse says that 2 Timothy 4:5, but you be watchful in all things. These are instructions that Timothy is being given by Paul. To be watchful in all things, endure afflictions, do the work of an evangelist, fulfill your ministry. And these are portion of scripture that the Lord has been ministering to me since the beginning of 2023. And at around that time in 2023, this third thing that Paul is saying, do the work of an evangelist, really got into me. And I started feeling that though I am a pastor, though I am, I have the various responsibilities that I have, there is something else that I need to do, and that is the work of an evangelist. Because this particular verse shows us that it's not a must that for you to be an evangelist. It's not a must for you to be probably, say, for example, a church worker so that you can be able to reach out. But Paul is telling Timothy, do the work of an evangelist. So wherever you are, you might be a doctor, you can still do the work of an evangelist as you perform your duties. You might be a teacher, you can still do the work of an evangelist as you perform your duties. You might be a mechanic, or whatever place that God has placed you in, where God has put you in, you can still do the work of an evangelist. And so this has been so much in me, and we've been talking about it in our church. In fact, there are other offices in the fivefold ministry, and Paul is not telling Timothy to probably engage himself in those others. For example, he's not telling us to do the work of a prophet or an apostle or any other, but the work of an evangelist can be done by all of us. Now, as we do the work of an evangelist, we should emulate Christ. And there are a few things I want us to see from the book of Matthew, chapter 9, verse number 35 to 38, that we will see from Christ and the way he was able to do his work, the way he was able to preach, the way he was able to be effective in ministry. We are going to learn a couple of things from him, and I believe that they will help us as we do the work of an evangelist. And we copy what Jesus did, and as we copy him, we are going to be effective, and we are going to see fruit of what we are doing. So allow me to read Matthew chapter 9, verse 35 to 38. The Bible says, then Jesus went about all cities and villages, teaching in every synagogue, preaching the gospel of the kingdom, and healing every sickness and every disease among the people. But when he saw the multitudes, he was moved with compassion for them, because they were weary and scattered, like sheep with no shepherd. Then he said to his disciples, the harvest truly is plentiful, but the laborers are few. Therefore pray to the Lord of the harvest to send out laborers into his harvest. Now, there are a couple of things that we're going to see so that we are able to get as much harvest as we can into the Lord's vineyard. Now, there are a couple of things that we can learn from Jesus. Number one, Jesus was very intentional. So intentionality is important for us as we do the work of an evangelist. We can see that from verse 35. Actually, in this verse 35, we are going to see three things that will help us, and two things in verse 36 and 37. So, Jesus was intentional. Jesus didn't wait to be invited. The verse begins by saying Jesus went about all cities and villages, teaching. He didn't wait for someone to invite him and call him and ask him, come heal us. Come, preach to us. Come, do this and the other to us. No, he went. Now, he was very, very, very intentional. Probably I may ask you a question. How intentional are you in where God has placed you to reach out to people with the gospel of the good news? We have people around us. We have neighbors. We have friends. We have relatives. We have people that we work with. There are people that work for us. All these people, we can make a decision and be intentional to reach out to them with the gospel of Jesus Christ. So, number one thing, Jesus was intentional. And that intentionality made him reach out. Again, in that particular verse 35, we can see that Jesus had a scope. There was the place that he identified where to go. We need to identify our scope. Now, he went to the villages, he went to the cities, he went. We all are placed somewhere by God. You are placed, probably, you work somewhere, there are people around you, just as I have said. We have that scope of people that we can reach to. Probably a preacher may not be able to reach to them. A preacher may not be able to preach to them and get to them effectively like you are. Because most of the times, probably you are together with the people. Say, for example, you're working with some people. You are with them many of the times. You can identify that as your scope. Probably you can even start something like a morning devotion or something in your area, in the scope that God has given you. So when you become intentional, you will be able to identify your scope, just like Jesus. And then number three, Jesus had a specific assignment. He knew his assignment. He knew he was supposed to preach the good news, teach in the synagogues, heal the sick, heal every kind of sickness and disease. Now, this was the assignment of Jesus Christ. And we have an assignment. God has given you an assignment where he has placed you to preach his word. Actually, when you discover your assignment, you realize how God can effectively use you in a very, very, very great way. Now, this is how I see church. Just like we are seeing, people are brought to him, to Jesus, with sicknesses, with diseases, people who are going through challenges. This is how I see church. Church should be in a way like a hospital, where people come with their problems. And now when they come to the church, they should find hope, they should find help for their situations. And as we do that, we are going to be fulfilling the assignment that God has given us. So every one of us know, if you are a born-again Christian, you have a kingdom assignment where God has placed you. Now we've seen in that verse 35 that Jesus was intentional. Jesus identified his scope. Jesus knew his assignment. And then in verse 36, it continues to tell us, but when he saw the multitudes, he was moved with compassion because they were weary and scattered. Now, when you when you are intentional, you become intentional, when you know your scope, when you know your assignment, then you will begin making observations. Jesus made an observation when he saw the multitudes. In this particular church, in our church here at Pefaria Bay, the Lord put it in our hearts to be preaching every Monday. And we got a few resources, bought a portable, chargeable speaker, where we go to various corners of our community, of our area. We go every Monday to preach and speak the word of God to those people. And as we did that, because we had identified our scope, we were fulfilling a specific assignment of reaching out people for Christ, we made some observations. We started seeing that there are people within our area who probably don't have a chance. They don't go to church. Some are in drugs. Some are in, they're in hard drugs. Others are in alcohol and all kinds of challenges. So the Lord help us and put it in our hearts to begin a service for them on Fridays, which we do every Friday from 12:30 to 2. We have that service, and after the service, we share a meal together. So what happens is we get all these people from the streets, let them come, and by and by, because of us doing the evangelism that we began in church, the Lord helped us, opened our eyes as we observed. Now, as you make observations, as you do fulfill the kingdom assignment, you will make observations. You will realize, you will see. Probably you will find people that need, a specific kind of help met in their lives. You may find people that probably need food. You can probably manage to feed them once a week or whatever kind of challenge. Others may not be having clothes. You may feel God putting in your heart to give them or to help them with clothes. So as we do this assignment that the Lord has given us, we are also going to have an opportunity God is going to open our eyes and we are going to make observations. And as we make observation, there is one thing that I want to encourage us, is that as we see things, the Lord is going to also provide for those things or the observations that we make. If they require resources, God is going to provide either human resource or any other kind of resource that is required as you make the observation. So Jesus observed. And then after observation, he didn't just leave it there. He responded. So we need to respond. Jesus responded with compassion, because the Bible tells us that he was moved with compassion because they were weary and scattered. He realized that these people, they were like harassed. They were going through challenges. And that's why we find in many cases, in several occasions that are recorded in the Bible, there are times that Jesus fed these people. Jesus met specific needs for specific people. Now, that is after making the observations, he was able to respond. He responded with compassion. He was able to solve the problems. And so, as we become intentional, as we practice intentionality, we identify the scope that the Lord has put us in or has given us as a place to reach out in. We start fulfilling our assignment, we will make observations, and we will be able to respond, and we are going to see great things happening. Let me tell you, when Jesus, because of these things Jesus did, the results were great. And our results will be great as we do these things. When Jesus did it, and as we are going to do it, we are going to see something called soul winning. We are going to win souls for Christ, because we will have identified places. We will have identified people that we need to reach to. We will be fulfilling the assignment. We are not just observing things, but we are responding to the needs that are there. We are able to win souls for Christ. We'll be able to, as we do that, there are opening of new territories that will happen in our lives, in our areas. Some places are so much locked. There are some people that you may not be able to reach by doing open airs, but we can be able to penetrate that space by probably even through you, who is close to that person, mentioning and showing them the love of Christ, living the way Christ wants us to live. Then there's going to be opening of new territories. Again, as we do that, there's going to be an awakening of believers. One thing I realized when we began our Monday evangelism, every Monday we evangelize and we do the open air meetings. When we began that, there's something I realized. The people that we are working with, I started seeing there's an awakening that was happening in their lives. We were not receiving many people coming to Christ, but I could see something is happening in the lives of the people that we were preaching with. So there is an awakening of believers as we reach out. And number 4, we will have enhanced capacity. Believers will be enhanced. We will have capacity to respond to questions. Some of the people fear because they don't know how to respond to questions, but I take it like this. The more you practice, the more you do physical exercise, your muscles become stronger and stronger. And with time, if you stop doing the physical exercises, then your muscles relax. Now, that is what happens when we reach out. You may not be, you may not be at the very, very high level, but you're going to grow slowly by slowly. Like take, for example, when we began the Friday service, Friday services here in church, in the afternoon. No, we have all sorts of people. Some come when they are high on drugs and alcohol, and you will be asked all manner of questions. Now, with time, the Lord has helped us our capacity has been enhanced, that we are able to respond to most of the things or most of the questions that people will come with. As you preach, as you reach out, you will identify and know this one, I know this one will not, the discussion is going nowhere. This one, I know how to answer this one. This one, I will not respond to this one. Now, your capacity will have grown and you'll be able to respond when need be, especially when we are reaching out. So when we emulate Christ, by being intentional, identifying our scope, knowing our assignment, making observation and responding, then we are going to see soul winning. We are going to have opening of new territories. There's going to be awakening of believers, and our capacity will be enhanced. This is my prayer, that we all be geared up to reach out. Let us do the work of an evangelist. God bless you all. Thank you for joining us. I'm Garrison from Pefa Riabai. Pefa Riabai is located, it's in the outskirts of Kiambu town. If you come to a place called Kirigiti, we are like 1 kilometer from there, and you're most welcome. The church is located next to a public field, locally known as Uwanja or Keharo. When you come there, you will find us. Welcome on Sunday, and we'll be blessed to have you. God bless you, and enjoy your time.